Hey guys, Dread Arcana here, back with another Godfall character build guide. And this time we're looking at Weakspot Airblade. This is the level 50 version of my Weakspot explosion build, but this is Weakspot Airblade. And let's go ahead and get right into it. Starting off is our skills. So it's very important that we pick up this weapon technique level 1 because of the fact that we're going to need our northern technique in order to actually utilize this build. Next up, we're going to need, basically, you're going to need all vitality, all might, all rampage. We're going to need all spirit, all weak points. Now, this is an essential skill. You need to have the level 1 weak spot in order to actually make this build function. So you need that level 1 to open up weak points. We're also going to need Soul Shatter buildup. And then we're going to need critical hit chance at level 5 and critical hit damage at level 5. And all stats. So that way, you're at maximum stats and stuff. The rest is really up to you. You can grab the polarity attacks, but you're really not going to use this skill at all. Finesse is good for dodging, but you're not really going to be parrying, so you don't need to extend that. Now, next up is our equipment. Now, keep in mind that I have some pieces that are not level 50, but let's go ahead and jump into this build. First off, let's talk about the essential gear pieces that you're going to need. First off, it's a rare sword so it's really easy to get. It's called Windbleeder. And the way this works is that it says whenever you hit a weak point, unleash a shockwave that deals 1,196 air damage. Now, this 1,196 does change based on the Windbleeder. I am currently working on several Windbleeders, and I'm trying to look for a Windbleeder that gives weak point damage. That has a higher air damage output than this one, but currently this is the best one that I have at level 50. Next up, we are going to need the charm called Ash Meteorite. This is another essential charm for the build, and what it does is that its primary effect says whenever you hit a weak point, shoot a projectile that deals 2,615 physical damage. So what this does is that it stacks with Windbleeder, so whenever you hit a weak point, you deal close to over 3,000 damage to any weak point. So what it does is that because this does not rely on the actual weak point damage, it just needs a weak point in order to trigger, and it will always be a set amount. It will always be close to 3,000 damage, but that's not going to change. So it's not impacted by weak point. That is why we're using the Hinterclaw Valor Plate, is because we need the weak points to be open, but we don't need them to effectively do most of our damage. We want that critical hit chance instead because it'll increase our DPS. Next up, another ring that you should get is this ring called Ring of the First Sword, which states it's a rare ring, so you're going to have to upgrade it to epic, to legendary, but what it does is that it says it gains 82 overhealth whenever you hit a weak point. So this actually goes up as the levels, as the rarity of it goes up. So that overhealth gain whenever you hit a weak point is really useful for survivability. Next up, we're going to be wanting the Ancestral Band. Whenever you hit a weak point, gain 2% Archon Fury charge and 38% Archon Fury charge speed for 10 seconds. So the reason that we want this is that when we're hitting bosses, or when we hit the multiple weak points, what will happen is that the first weak point we get Archon Fury charge speed. The second time we hit a weak point, we gain 40% more from this ancestral band. So we're going to be consecutively hitting weak point after weak point after weak point after weak point. We're basically going to spam the weak point to gain lots of Archon Fury charge, and it can build up your Archon Fury very, very quick. Next up, the lift stone we're going to want is this Archon's Tear for the 34% critical hit chance and the 145% critical hit damage. So that way we're critting, we're doing lots more damage. I have hit 10k on this build. Next up is, for our banner, we want the Mises Banner roll. And the reason for this is for that 24% critical hit chance and the critical hit damage. If you can get it to roll weak point damage, all the better. Next up is the final essential Augment. Now, in all reality, there's only really 3 pieces of gear that you need, but you're going to need this Augment called Surety. This is absolutely essential. You cannot run the build without Surety. Whenever you hit an enemy with your Northern technique, so that's that multiple slash attack, expose the enemy's weak point and deal 112% weak point damage the next time you hit a weak point. Think about that for a second. Whenever you hit an enemy with your Northern technique, you expose the enemy's weak points. Weak points. So you're going to have multiple weak point targets, and they're going to be up for a pretty good time, giving you the opportunity to get in there and trigger as many slashes as you possibly can, dealing out the major amounts of damage that you can do. So once again, the big pieces that you're going to need are Wind Bleeder, Ash Meteorite, and the Surety Augment. These 3 pieces are what makes the build function. Anything else is icing on the cake, so to speak, to take advantage of all of those weak point gains. Anyways, now we're going to see some gameplay of me fighting several enemies to see how this build actually functions in testing. And I hope you guys enjoy the gameplay, and if you guys like the video, feel free to subscribe. And if you guys like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Anyways, I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care and enjoy the gameplay.